Football is back and we're ready. I think the fans are definitely ready, but the fans are wondering and have serious concerns as to whether this West Ham United squad is ready. In Nuno's first press conference of the 2026-27 season, he seemed to send quite a strong message to the board as to what he thinks is needed before we really start playing in the league, rather than what's going to happen against Portsmouth on Saturday. The manager, he knows exactly what this squad needs, and maybe more importantly, he knows that time is running out to get the players that we need. Because for weeks now, West Ham fans have been looking at this squad and saying much the same thing. We've got no creativity, we've got no pace, we need more options in this squad, we need players who can come in and make a difference straight away. And in this press conference, Nuno basically confirmed that those conversations have been happening behind the scenes. Now, this isn't a case of a manager sitting there thinking, let's see what happens. And Niels Koppen has been given direct instructions as to what West Ham United needs to improve the squad. Now, that's important because one of the biggest questions going into this transfer window was whether we actually had an action plan. You know, was the club just going to wing it in much the same way that most transfer window business has been done in the past? Or was there really a proper recruitment strategy this time? And from what Nuno has said, the answer seemed to be that there is a plan. However, with only one signing, that being a decent signing, 34-year-old defender on a free, many fans would question whether this plan is actually any better than what we had in the past. Now, the problem now is that the clock is ticking because we are now getting closer and closer to the start of the season, and West Ham still have obvious gaps in this squad. And the frustrating thing for supporters is that they're not difficult areas to identify. You don't need to be an expert to see where this team needs strengthening. You've only got to look at the squad and you can just, see where the problems are. We need more attacking threat. We need more pace. We need more creativity. We need competition at the back. We need another centre back. We need a lot of players in a lot of positions in order to really feel that we've got a good squad, a good enough squad to be challenging for an automatic promotion finish this coming season. Now, these are positions that we've known about well before this season. They're much the same positions that we've been crying out for last season as well. And more so when certain players have left. Crysencio Somerville, who was the only player that's naturally got any pace. And although he wasn't that creative, he was combative in midfield. Fernandez leaving has also left a bit of a gap. And this is probably why Nuno's comments will interest fans, because he hasn't tried to pretend that everything's okay. He hasn't come out and said, look, we're happy with the squad that we've got. Instead, he has basically acknowledged that improvements are much needed. And that's a positive because he knows what's required. Because the worst thing that could happen is that having a manager who doesn't see the same problems as the fans do or tries to sugarcoat that everything's okay. But now comes the difficult part. Knowing what you need and actually getting those players through the door are two completely different things. And I don't know, well, at the moment, we're all questioning whether we've actually got, the capacity to be able to bring the players in that we need. We all know that recruitment takes time, negotiating, medicals, contracts, convincing the players that their futures lie at West Ham, especially in the Championship. Plus, of course, clubs have got to be willing to sell. And the longer you leave it, the harder it all becomes. The danger is you might end up making, and we've seen it, haven't we? We end up making panic decisions. We've seen it so many times before where we're sort of short in the squad. And before you know it, we're signing players and we're scratching our heads, wondering if they're the right players or not. Because this season is very, very different. This season is massive because if we don't get the player recruitment right, it's going to jeopardize our chances of promotion. Because at this moment in time, a lot of fans are suggesting that promotion, automatic promotion, is not something that's going to happen at West Ham. And we know what the financial consequences are of staying in the Championship any longer than the season ahead. The club has already had to deal with the consequences of relegation. Means that you get hit with, you've got this massive wage bill that you're trying to contend with, even though most players have lost half their wages. You've got the financial losses, you've got the commercial losses, you've got the television money losses. There comes a price when you drop down from the Premier League. So every signing that we make, when we make them, is going to be really, really vital. We can't throw money around. We need players that are going to fit a system, and we need players that are going to fit Nuno's style. But we also need players that are going to be able to handle the Championship, but good enough to be able to come up to the Premier League and challenge for positions in the starting lineup next season if we get promoted. And that's why this relationship between Nuno and Niels Koppen is so important, because if Koppen has been given those positions and those profiles of the players that we need, then the recruitment team have got a very clear job in what they have to do. We've got to find the players. We've got to find them damn quick. I'm not suggesting nothing's happening. We keep seeing the names being bandied around. There's no denying that. But we want more than just one free player coming through the door. Because while fans are desperate for new signings, we've also got to recognise that this squad has also changed in a way. We've lost players. I've already mentioned Fernandez and Somerville. Players have returned from loan, the likes of Alvarez and Cornet. And Nuno has to work out whether any of these players are going to fit into his plans or not, which is why it's so kind of exacerbating that we've only just signed one player so far. And let me be honest, I quite like the signing of Joel Veltman. I know fans are going, oh, there we go, typical 34-year-old on a free signing, blah, blah, blah. But in all fairness, he's a good signing. I think he's an experienced pro, that the kind of player that we're going to need in the Championship. But equally, you cannot start the season with a squad that everybody knows is short. Well, in fact, ironically, we are, because it's exactly what's going to happen on Saturday when we play Portsmouth in the FA Cup, in the Carabao Cup. And Carabao Cup, is it important? It'd been really, really nice to have a good cup run this season. And, it'd be really, really nice to sort of get off on a really, really good start. What we don't want is another season and another summer transfer window where we're chasing targets right up until deadline day and then scrambling around trying to get players in. We've seen that happen so many times before, and it doesn't end well, does it? And we genuinely thought that now, without David Sullivan interfering, we would have had, at the most, if we would have had a better transfer window than we've done in the past. But it looks to be exactly the same as what's happened before. Now, whatever Daniel Kretinsky and the club have said, it just doesn't seem possible that the shenanigans that are going on at boardroom level have not impacted on our transfer window. Of course, it absolutely has. We know that, and it's futile for statements to come out to suggest that it's business as usual, because it really isn't business as usual. Now it's over to Niels Koppen, because the manager has effectively put the ball in his court. He's told Niels Koppen what he needs. Koppen knows the positions that we need. Targets have been identified. It's just a matter of now of getting them over the line. But if we reach the opening game, the opening league game, and those same weaknesses are still there, then questions are only going to get louder. And can you imagine if we lose against Burnley away? Those questions are going to get extremely loud. As far as the first game of the season is concerned, this is probably the best time, ironically, to be playing Portsmouth, as apparently they've got up to 4 of their key players missing from the starting lineup. Winger Franco Ume is out with a hamstring injury that he suffered in pre-season. Former Liverpool Academy striker Harvey Blair also looks to be missing. Winger Josh Murphy is another casualty after suffering a groin strain. And veteran striker Keshi Anderson is another casualty of pre-season. Now, we've got a couple of players out as well. We'll be missing Thomas Soucek, who we know is out for several months. And also, Kibele Madrid is apparently going to miss this game because of a knock that he picked up in the final pre-season game against Magdeburg last weekend. Now, Portsmouth's pre-season has been mixed, with the club mainly drawing or losing their games. But then a lot of fans will tell you West Ham's pre-season hasn't been exactly that great, even though we haven't lost. But friendlies, to be honest with you, as we know, mean absolutely nothing. And the Cup and the League is where results really, really matter. So Nuno, whilst he awaits squad reinforcements, he spoke how impressed he's been with academy players. He stated that they're going to be options for the game on Saturday. Some of them, he say, will play. Some of them, he said, will start. So what kind of 11 are we looking likely to see against Portsmouth this Saturday at 3 o'clock? Well, this is the lineup I'm going for. Let's not forget this is a cup game, which is why I've got Alphonse Areola in goal. I keep saying it. As far as I'm concerned, for me, Alphonse Areola is the better of the two keepers and should be playing in the league. But I've got Alphonse Areola in goal. I think we won't see too much of a change to the pre-season for our back four. So I think it'll be quite the strongest that we can get, which will be Kyle Walker-Peters on the right, Ollie Skiles on the left, and Kilman will be partnering Dinos in the middle. Midfield, I can't decide on. I really honestly can't, because you could put in a couple of different players in that midfield three. Let me just go for the front three. I think Bowen, Pablo, and Tati Castellanos will be the front three. Now, I've gone in the middle for Kante, James Ward-Prowse, and a massive chance there for Lewis Orford. However, you could argue that you'd have Cornet in there to give you width on the left-hand side, because clearly without Le Madrid, you're going to be missing that. You could argue that you could put Josh Ajala out on the left. It's not his natural position. He's more of, he's a striker rather than he is a left-sided player. And the reason why I've not put Ajala in is because Ajala could be the only striker on the bench for us. Look, you see on the right-hand side, the players that are out. I don't believe that Casey or Gollum Beckis will make the lineup. I don't really believe Earthy will make the lineup either. We've got Le Madrid and Souček injured. And then the three at the bottom there, Fulkrug, Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Todibo, they're on their way out. When I looked at the photos, this photo shoot that was taken for the squad on the West Ham website, the players that had photos taken were Souček, but he's injured, Fulkrug, Wan-Bissaka and Todibo. They didn't have their photos taken. Everybody else did. And that includes our new number 4. But is he a number 4? Because we all know he isn't. And that's Alvarez. Now, the reason why I say he's not a new number 4 is because Edson Alvarez last season was given the number 4 shirt from 19 to number 4. The reason why it probably doesn't stick in anyone's minds is because no sooner did he get the number 4 shirt, Graham Potter had him out on his out on loan to Fenerbahce. So that's why. So it's not. But look, apparently, as some press reports have stated, apparently he's willing to stay. I welcome that. If any of you have seen the show I did the other day about Alvarez and Todibo, for me, I welcome that. I would welcome Todibo back as well, to be honest with you, if you get his attitude right. Clearly, by not having his photo taken for the squad pictures, for him, Fulkrug and Wan-Bissaka are clearly out. So going back to why I've chosen not put Ajala in the starting lineup out on the left is because I do actually think he'll be the only striker. Well, no, tell a lie. Cornet can also play as a striker as well. So those are 2 options. Now, you could put Cornet on the left. That might even happen in this game and maybe not have Lewis Orford. He may be on the bench rather than... So I'm fluid in my thinking about the midfield 3. What do I expect from tomorrow? Well, you can just see from that lineup what we're missing. We're missing creativity. We all know it. And we're missing pace. Massive, massive problem. And when I look on the bench, the only player with any level of pace is Josh Ajala. So clearly we're going to be lacking. So the reason why I've selected a 4-3-3 is because I think we're going to just look to control this game from midfield, keep hold of it, pass it around, frustrate them, and look for openings. That's how I think the game will go on Saturday. I'm predicting a win. I'm predicting a 2-0 win. A 2-0 win is not going to crack open the papers. It's not going to paper over the cracks, but that's what I'm predicting. So, we've got to get off to a flying start. We really have. And then we've got to crack on with getting players in. I've lost count at the number of times that I keep saying that next week we'll get the players in. Next week we'll get the players in. I'm relieved that we got Joel Veltman in, but it's nowhere near enough. Now, transfer updates. We keep hearing about the same players. Troy Parrott, apparently we're close to. Apparently, depending on what you read about the Israeli winger, someone is suggesting that we're very, very close. Others are suggesting he's signing tomorrow. Apparently, from an Israeli social media column or a newspaper suggestion that he's definitely agreed to come to us. Solomon, Solomon, his name. Apparently, he's agreed to come to us. The £5 million agreement, and he's going to sign tomorrow. I don't know, because it's not being picked up, that story, from sort of the bigger social media channels and newspaper outlets. So I don't know how true that is. So we've still got Arnie Engels, who's apparently told Celtic that he wants to join West Ham. We've still got either Solomon or Adingra out wide that we're looking at. We've got Troy Parrott and apparently another striker. Now, people were suggested that was Bamba Dieng, but apparently, again, depending on which social media channel you want to follow, apparently Bamba Dieng, we turned the opportunity down to sign him. I don't know why, maybe because of his long injury record, but he played last season pretty well. So we'll see. There are things in the pipeline. I've got no doubt at all we'll sign more players, but boy, oh boy, I wish they were here to actually even be on the bench at the weekend against Portsmouth. Not that I think we need them, and it's no disrespect to Portsmouth. We should win this game comfortably on Saturday, but just to show the fans that we've actually got a squad. Let's hope then, if it, clearly it's not going to happen tomorrow, but let's hope by the time we're away to Burnley Sunday week, we've got at least another 2 or 3 or even 4 additions to this squad that will fill the bench or will start in the first 11. Give me your predictions. Tell me what you think. Tell me if you think we're going to do well, if we're going to start off on a flyer, or if we're going to falter. Because the last thing we need is a dodgy performance. Scraping a 1-0 won't do. It's just going to set the fans thinking we're not ready. We know we're not ready. We're nowhere near ready. So let's hope we put in a really good performance, that we keep possession of the ball, that we create chances, and we score by at least a couple of goals. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And I will see you all. Oh, we'll do a show after the game on Saturday. And I think Wiggy will be back and donning probably one of his new shirts of the season.